Hello, welcome to the third podcast from Reddish Lifestyle. And it's been a bit of a gloomy day, hasn't it, today?
I know. I mean,
Whole week, really.
I know. And I don't know our intention this week is to talk about barbecues.
The irony.
I know. The irony that it hasn't really been the summer for barbecues, but then really, I suppose you can cook outside anytime.
And we have.
We have, yeah.
I mean, we've done all sorts outside, including Christmas days, so...
Yeah, we have. So we thought it was just a good one to talk about because it kind of elongates the summer slightly and suggests that, you know, you don't have to just cook outside if it's a hot, sunny day. And actually, sometimes it's really nice if it's, you know, it cheers you up to light a fire or a barbecue and do something outside. And we also thought it's actually quite on trend. I think there's a lot of restaurants now. You know, if I watch things or restaurants you go to, most kitchens have got open flame, haven't they?
Yeah, cooking over flame,
hot flame and coals or wood or whatever. So we just thought we'd touch base on that. So, but first of all, Charlie, what do you reckon, gas or coal? I mean, that's
It's a tricky one. I sort of hands up here. I've probably only cooked on gas maybe once or twice in terms of a barbecue because we've never had gas barbecues. So it's always been coal or charcoals. And obviously now it's slightly easier with the sort of bags that you can light.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when we go back to when we had our beach hut, we basically would build a fire on the beach. It was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And then do a bit of fishing, and there could be lobsters or fresh sea bass or something like that, which is fantastic.
One of my memories was it was sort of relatively early in the day in terms of like 11 o'clock. And the men folk, should we call them, had come in from the fishing and there was fresh mackerel and they just put them straight onto onto a grill over some charcoal.
Yeah.
It was absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
And it was such a nice way to eat that fish.
Yeah.
I still love mackerel as a fish. I think it's brilliant.
Oh, I know. It does have a really great flavour. And of course, anything like that, if it's cooked fresh, straight out of the sea or wherever, and put straight onto coals. And you do get that wonderful sort of smoky, charcoaly, or even if it's wood, but you get that woody smoke flavour.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing for me with gas. I know why people do it. It's much more convenient. You don't have to clean, out the kind of dead charcoal at the end and all that kind of stuff. But it's not hugely different from just cooking on gas in your kitchen, is it, really?
No.
In terms of as an energy source, it's not that different.
No, I just guess it's a convenience. There is something to be said that, when you, even a simple barbecue, even if you're just lighting your bag of coals, then, there's still an element of, you've got to clean the barbecue out. It's a bit messy.
Well, it's a ritual,
yeah. But I guess for me, why do you do a barbecue? You do it because it is that ritual. That's part of it, or building a fire outside. And
British people love a barbecue. I mean, there's like an inherent thing. We, in the summer, it's warm, it's a bank holiday. We get out there and light up the barbecue.
Yeah, totally.
And it's quite sociable. So there is an element where it's that kind of, you could have a gathering around a barbecue. Do you know what I mean? It brings people together kind of thing. I don't know.
Do you think it takes us back to our caveman
I think
days?
it is a bit like that. Definitely. But talking of barbecues and obviously dodgy weather, which is obviously sort of typical British summer, but do you remember the ones we've done on Christmas days and things?
Oh, gosh, yeah. So, there's been a few times where we've had a really small Christmas. It's been like 3 of us. And it's a bit like, okay, well, how are we going to, you want to entertain yourself and make it a special day. So we've literally lit the barbecue and we've kind of done our starter at lunchtime and been outside with a glass of champagne or something and cooked our giant prawn or whatever it is that we're cooking. And then, several hours later, we're back in the kitchen because we're cooking our turkey or our roast. So we've sort of split it up like that. That's been quite good fun, hasn't it?
It has. And it's quite a nice way to sort of, I don't know, almost kickstart, not the festivities, but the day of cooking, I think. It's out of the kitchen. You're suddenly, even if you're under an umbrella, you're outdoors. It's good, it's good to be outside rather than all cooped up indoors all day.
Yeah. And I think it's just an element of fun.
Yeah. And I think also just, from a recipe I can't speak.
Perspective.
Thank you. Put my teeth back in. If you can get relatively large prawns, it's very simple. Just a bit of, we do olive oil, maybe a bit of garlic. You could add a bit of chili in there.
Yeah.
Even like a squidge of lemon juice, that kind of thing. And you literally can leave those for sort of 20 minutes, half an hour while the barbecue's warming up and the coals are getting ready. And then you pop those on and it's, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So as a starter goes, it's not a lot of faff in terms of the preparation. It's quite simple, but it's delicious.
But on the flip side of that, I would say most people, when you do a barbecue, you want to make most of the barbecue. You don't want to go through all that effort of setting up a barbecue, waiting for it to die down, light it, and then you're only going to cook something that's only going to cook for a few minutes. I mean, we've done some great things like legs of lamb, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, we did one relatively recently, didn't we? So legs of lamb were on offer in a certain supermarket. And we butterflied it, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, we did.
And then marinated it, but kept it quite simple again. Sort of the obligatory garlic, I think a bit of rosemary from your garden, that kind of thing. Marinated it, for an hour or so maybe.
Yeah, and I think the tips, we've kind of been sort of playing around with it a bit. And I know, like with our barbecue, a lot of them have got like a temperature gauge on them. And I think it's really important to understand how to put the lid on. And when you're sort of need it like a proper oven, and when you need a bit of flame on it, or when the embers have died down, that's kind of thing, like that you can cook maybe your vegetables a bit later, and keep them to the side, and then you just give them a quick flash towards the end. But one of your fun ones is the chicken, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Well, I have to be honest, I don't know the provenance of it. I'm assuming, and I think it's Australian, where they take a whole chicken, and rather in the cavity stuffing lemon and, herbs and things, you put an opened can of beer into the cavity of the chicken, and then you sort of prop the chicken up with the can on the grill, so the chicken wings are sort of in the air as such, and then you cook it. The moisture from the evaporating beer gives you a really good moist cook of the chicken.
I know, and it is a bit of fun, and we have had a bit of a balancing act with it. So I would suggest that if you are doing it, have a few house bricks or something to hand.
Or skewers. I think we've done it sort of balanced it across.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's a great recipe, and it obviously cooks brilliantly. I think the thing for me is with the cooking side of things is if you've got one and you're lucky enough to have one with a temperature gauge on it, and we're talking about charcoal or coal one now with a lid, imagine it is your oven to a certain extent. So, if it's reaching 200 degrees, that's sort of how you would roast your chicken, isn't it? 180. So don't be afraid to sort of treat it like an oven. It's just, the energy for the heat is coming from a different source.
Yeah. Now, this is random. I did a tiny bit of research on this.
Here we go.
So I am going to read this out. So I just looked up the origin of barbecue.
Oh,
so I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know this at all.
No, I don't know.
So I'm going to read what came out. So, but if anyone's got any other theories on this, please let us know. But this is what came up when I went onto my computer. So the history of the word barbecue goes back to the indigenous people of North and South America.
Oh, okay.
And it's the Spanish word barbacoa was used by the Tainos. And I apologise for my pronunciation as well, who inhabited Hispaniola, Jamaica and Cuba. So barbacao was used to describe the slow cooking of meat over an open flame.
Right.
Now, there was a Spanish explorer, was the first person to use the word barbacoa in Spain in 1526.
Gosh.
And that was after the Spaniards and Columbus had landed in the Americas in 1492.
It goes back a long way.
Yeah, so they found this Taino or Tainos people roasting meat on a sort of a wooden frame, resting on sticks over an open fire. And they kind of took that and brought it back and gave it that name.
So how did we move on? So that was literally 500 years ago nearly.
Yeah.
How did we then what was the next stage?
Well, it goes on to say that it wasn't until 1952 that a George Stephen went on to create the first modern barbecue. Now, and I'm sure many of you would have heard of this brand of barbecue, but he was a welder at Weber Brothers. Metalworks. So Weber, the barbecue.
Our barbecues.
Yeah, and that was from Illinois. That's American.
Yeah.
And he literally cut, apparently, a metal buoy in half, which I guess was like a drum or something.
Oh, for the drum shape.
So he had the dome shape, and then he put the grill on top. And then he just welded 3 steel legs onto the dome and used the top half as the lid.
What's amazing is that that whole history has happened over 500 years, rather.
Yeah.
But actually, that barbecue he invented is actually, when you think about it, we take it for quite simple design.
And they're still simple. I think the simple is best.
Yeah.
It's great having that lid, as we've just discussed having the lid. But, it is a great design, that little round, walled. I mean, and I know there are other brands out there, not just Weber.
Yeah.
But
the shape.
Yes, exactly. And interestingly enough, that was where it was first created.
Yeah.
But not until 1950s.
Interesting.
Early 1950s.
Interesting.
Yeah, really interesting.
Right. Well, we need to up our barbecue game then. So have you got any new inspiration for our
Yes, I have actually. I have just literally got in my sticky paws a new book. Well, no, it's not new. I think actually it came out maybe last year or the year before, but by Gil Mellor. And it's called Outside, and it's recipes for a wilder way of eating. And actually having a quick look at it is fantastic, because it makes me think of my childhood, and it makes me think of our days at Beach Hut, because he's really advocating that, it is a ritual, but it's something to really enjoy cooking outside. But you don't obviously have to be, he's very lucky, he lives, in wonderful countryside. You don't have to be outside in the middle of nowhere, that you can do it by using your barbecue, or even if you've got your foil barbecue on a beach or something, but that whole ritual of cooking outside. But he then just goes on to say it's really simple and gives you some great recipes that make you think about other things to cook other than sausages and burgers.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I mean, there is nothing wrong with a good burger.
No.
At all. Or good sausage or anything.
No.
We're just saying, there are options rather than doing that and feeling like you have to do that. There are actually relatively simple recipes that you can do that pack a lot of flavour and aren't difficult to cook if you get your timings right.
Yeah. But I think the premise from his book, because hence it's called Outside, is just being outside in the elements, away from perhaps the kitchen. It takes you away. It's that whole link to the countryside, our environment where we live. So actually he's even saying, even if you just make things and take a picnic, and you throw a blanket in the park, it's actually just being outside, communing with nature. There's something exciting. And I think as children, we've always loved that. And lots of people still love it. That's why they love camping and things like that.
Yeah.
And actually it does really take you out of your everyday, I think.
Yeah. It's a different form of cooking, which you're not doing Monday to Friday. Do you know what I mean? If you do it at the week, if you did a barbecue at the weekend, it's not cooking on a stove with an electric oven and all that kind of stuff. You are much more reliant on the coals and moderating temperature through lids and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's a great way of adding flavour. And, we've had some very memorable barbecues, and we've touched on some like with the Beach Hut and things like that, which we were very fortunate to have when I was growing up. One of my things, obviously, big advocate of Portugal, but the piri-piri chicken.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously what I was thinking about is, obviously you talked about restaurants that that are now using coals to cook over. And it's amazing when you go to Portugal, how a lot of that, a lot of places, piri-piri is still cooked over charcoal.
Yeah, no, totally.
So, and I think it's just a great way of having extra flavour.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of restaurants have now got a section where they can do it over open flame and coals. And I mean, some are literally just, using woods and stuff.
Well, we went to Roka. Do you remember the Japanese restaurant? Yeah. And do you remember they had they were cooking over flames, and we had the poussin. Oh. Do you remember they brought it to the table?
Yeah.
In the tiny.
They did.
And it was still on it for
Yeah. So I think there is something here,
Yeah,
and I think
I love
maybe, you know, I think it is we're saying it's a trend, but I think it's a really good trend, but it is just worth considering. And I think, as I say, even if we can't do it at home, but we might be able to do it in your garden, might be able to do it if you're going out camping, or definitely on a beach, using driftwood. And that's what Gil says in one of his things, using bits of driftwood. But I think you've just got to be mindful and safe. But I think giving flavour to food.
So in terms of barbecues, memorable ones, or a recipe that you might recommend for doing on a barbecue that's a bit different, or a barbecue that you've had that, I don't know, really hit the spot, it was good fun, or I don't know, just something memorable, really.
Yeah, I was about memorable. Memorable is some of the ones we've done, like with our legs of lamb, or, when we've had people round, and so you're kind of eating al fresco and there's barbecue involved, and obviously you make other things. But something I've done recently, because I've been, as you know, growing those little round courgettes, is I saw a great recipe where, well, it can be any shaped courgette. Sorry, it can be any shaped courgette. You could use squash or whatever. But things like courgette and aubergine cook really nicely on barbecues. But you basically chop the courgette into quite hefty chunks. The ones we've been using are round, so it's quite nice. It's a bit like a chocolate orange, but it's quite thicker, as in, quite good quarters or whatever.
Chocolate orange is a good analogy.
Yeah. And then you barbecue it, and you just have a bit of oil, salt and pepper. But then you make a lovely, spicy, yogurty dip. So you can use all sorts of things.
Is this the one, did you do harissa one?
Yeah, so you can
Nice.
take the yogurt, add harissa, some lemon juice.
Delicious.
Put some chopped herbs in it. And actually what you do is once the courgettes have cooked, so they're relatively soft and a bit charred, you take them off, and even while they're warm, you stir them into that mixture. And as you know, because we were eating that together.
It was delicious.
It was really lovely.
Yeah. Well, and it could, it's vegetarian. I think the other thing we should say about barbecues, and that's a good example.
Yeah.
I think everyone assumes it's this hunter-gatherer, it has to be meat.
Yeah, no.
But we've done fish, we've done vegetables, we've done grilled nectarines and things, haven't we?
Yeah.
Afterwards for sort of pudding.
And we've also done things like, I love when you put leeks.
Yeah.
So, you put a whole leek and take some of the outer leaves off. Obviously, you make sure it's clean. But actually, sometimes it's nice, as you cook it, it chars on the outside, and then you take those outer leaves off, and you're left with this wonderful soft leek in the middle.
And it goes sweet, doesn't it?
It goes really sweet. And you can do that with onions. Onions are really good.
Yeah. Well, I think some of my sort of memorable ones, I think, like I said, beach hut when I was growing up, definitely sort of mackerel straight off the boat, amazing. Others we've done were probably memorable for various reasons, but we've had a celebration, and then I'd planned to do barbecues and things like that. And then we'd had weather like we're having at the moment, and you've got people coming round. So you can't all sit in the garden, but we still persevered cooking under umbrellas and all that kind of stuff.
Charlie did for me last year a surprise birthday, and it was a barbecue, and I knew nothing about it. And my birthday is in July, and it was the wettest day virtually of the year, and it was all barbecued. And so people were outside in their waterproofs with umbrellas, and it was such fun. And actually, in the end, everyone said it was so memorable because of that.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best lunches.
I know.
Because we
But it was just waking up on the day in July and seeing sort of horizontal rain and wind. It was just like, right, this was not what I was expecting, but it still worked. So yeah, brilliant.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
So when you're cooking on a barbecue, what utensils do you intend to use the most?
Ooh, it's a good question. I mean, as you know, I like to skewer things. So even if you're doing sausages, this is a tip actually, keep them in there 6 or 8 or whatever you've bought them in, and put 2 skewers at either end of the whole lot of them. Spread them out a tiny bit along the 2 skewers. But it means that you're not trying to turn one sausage that might fall through the gap of the grill. You turn the whole 6 over at one go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So certainly the skewers are really useful. We've got sort of a metal almost like a fish slice, haven't we? A long-handled one.
Yeah.
I think the one thing to bear in mind when you're cooking a barbecue is a lot of the utensils you'd use in your normal kitchen aren't suitable because A, they will probably melt, or you have to get so close to the heat, your hand, you wouldn't be able to stand it. So, and we've got some long tongs.
I was going to say
I would say those are the two.
Yeah.
To be honest, they're the two that I use. I don't use anything else.
No.
As long as you can turn things and control the turn with the other spatula, maybe, then you're fine. But I do think the skewering thing stops things falling through gaps. It's just easier. You get a much more even cook on the product.
Now, we can't talk today about things like the green egg, can we? Because we've never used one of those.
We've never used one.
So would love it if anyone's got any comments or would like to come on and talk about that, because I would like to talk about that. But they're obviously one of the reasons we don't have one is they're very expensive and we're not sure how often we would use it. But I do know people that have had them and have used them a lot. Well,
some restaurants have them, don't they?
Yeah, they do. That's true.
And they use them in their kitchens.
Yeah.
So yeah. Any info on those or any tips on cooking on a barbecue generally would be brilliant.
Yeah, or favourite recipes, or things you've discovered that have just turned out amazingly on your barbecue.
Well, actually, talking of questions, we have had some from our podcast last week.
Oh, yes, what have we got?
So, we talked about our blackberry jam, blackberry picking and amazing jars. So the question is, okay, you've got 8 jars of blackberry jam. Other than spreading it on toast, are there any other uses for the jam?
My first one that always comes to my mind is in a Victoria sponge. So if you've made a Victoria sandwich, homemade jam. Forget any butter icing or anything like that, but just homemade jam in beautiful, warm, homemade Victoria sponge.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Absolutely delicious.
Yeah, no, it is a good one.
What about you?
Well, actually, I can tell you what I've been using my jam for, other than having it on toast. I've been having sort of porridge because of the weather. I think this is so cold and grey.
Yeah.
A couple of, a tablespoon of that on top of my porridge.
Yeah.
It's absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
Also, you can do like something like Queen of puddings. So you have a layer of the jam at the bottom. Then you have your no, you don't. You have a custard. Then you have a layer of jam, and then you do your meringue. It's quite an old-fashioned pudding, but I know, like traditionally, like example, Victoria sponge should be, I think, strawberry jam. But we're not. We're just saying that you could use any jam.
Oh yeah.
And like this Queen of puddings, I think is supposed to be like plum jam or something, but you could use blackberry jam.
And I would also say, as we go into the cooler months of the year, blackberry jams are fantastic with things like duck, game. They'd be great with venison. They'd be great with partridge, pheasant. And the other thing is, you have people turn up for supper or you've invited people for supper. A great wheeze of a pudding is to take some really wonderful Greek yogurt, and you can sometimes get that yogurt with the coconut in, which is delicious. But anyway, just take some Greek yogurt and stir some blackberry jam in. Yeah, and actually you can even make like a yogurty brulee. I've done before. So you stir the yogurt in, or stir the jam in. Another wheeze is to put lemon curd in. That can be homemade or not, and you put some demerara sugar on the top.
Oh, and then
just put it under a grill. And it's a much healthier. I know it's got sugar in it, but it's a healthier version of a creme brulee. And it gives a nice light sweet, you don't have to make it too big. Small ramekin.
I think we covered quite a lot there.
Yeah.
So there are your usage for blackberry jam. Last week, obviously, our main topic was France.
Oh, yes. Did we get any questions about France?
We did.
Right.
So the question was, obviously, we talked about France. Have you got any memorable meals that you can pinpoint that you've had in France?
I don't know if we covered this last week, but I've got probably 2. One is a millefeuille, which, of course, is 1,000 leaves. And I think it's very rarely cooked or created in the way it should be. But I happen to be in a chateau in France. And not only did we have fresh bream from their local river for supper, but it was an absolutely amazing meal. We had a meal for dessert, and as Charlie will know, I don't often eat desserts.
No.
But you had to wait half an hour for it, and it was the most unbelievable dessert. It just did what it should do and melt in your mouth. It was not puff pastry. It was just the lightest leaves of the most gorgeous pastry, and you just put it on your tongue and it melted.
Nice.
So that one, and I think the other one for me is there's probably quite a few, but is to eat fruit de mer in somewhere,
like Normandy.
in Normandy, in Dinard or Dinan or somewhere like that. Just amazing, where you get everything. You know, you can impossibly imagine on a beautiful high glass tiered plate.
Fabulous.
I mean, absolutely amazing. Yeah, straight out of the sea.
Amazing.
What about you?
So, sticking with the seafood theme, actually. So I was down on the western seaboard of France, so sort of La Rochelle area on one of my solo trips. And I went to a place called Les Sablons de la Haune, and it was market day. And I went into the market. It's this sort of great covered market. And it's amazing, actually. You go in at sort of street level, but actually to go out the other end, you have to go up because the streets are higher than the rest of the market, if that makes sense. Anyway, it's a great market. But they have an oyster bar there. And it was probably about 11:45. And I hadn't actually eaten breakfast because, you know, you're driving round and you think, I'll stop somewhere. Anyway, I'd stopped. And I had 6 oysters and a glass of muscadet. And I think it was, €9 or something. But it was just perfect, like, being in the market, the taste of the sea. Because Les Sablons is on the sea. It's got this amazing bay. So for me, it just was. And also, I know it sounds awful. It was a very French thing to do. It's market day. I'm having a glass of wine, having some fresh oysters. I mean, in terms of other memorable meals, I think we might have touched on it last week, but Le Frog, the restaurant we went to in Nice, I think does amazing food. And I remember going there for lunch and having some amazing pasta. And actually, for the life of me, I wish I could have taken a photo of the menu, but it was just the plat du jour. But it was delicious pasta, but it had like a seafood bisque round the ravioli.
Oh, God.
And it was just divine, absolutely divine. So, yeah, those are our questions so far. I actually have a little present for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
What have we got?
Here we go. You can open it.
Oh, gosh. There'll be lots of rustling now.
Yeah, so hold on. Hopefully it won't take too long to open.
No.
We can. She's opening the packet.
So why are you giving me a present?
Well, because we've got our Greek Odyssey coming up. And you said you wanted a book to read while we were there that was based in Greece. So,
fantastic.
I've got you Stephen Fry's Mythos, and obviously it's like the retelling of those Greek gods and all that kind of stuff, Greek mythology, but in a 21st century way.
Oh, this is going to be so great. I mean, it's the sort of thing I can never really remember, and I don't know how many people, what gods, because you've got the Roman gods and the Greek gods, and who does what. So this is going to be absolutely brilliant to read this. And actually, it's got some lovely images in it as well.
Yeah. Gosh, look at that. So, yes, I thought that would keep you entertained.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Charlie.
That's all right.
I'm sorry, I don't have a present for you.
No, it wasn't.
Does that mean that we've got to give a present to each other every week?
No, that would be nice.
Every podcast?
No. But obviously, we are off to Greece. So we will be talking about that on potentially our next podcast. We shall see.
Yeah.
And there's lots to talk about. And obviously, hopefully, the idea is that we might be able to do a podcast while we're actually in Greece as well. So we can be there.
Totally.
Live, so to speak.
Yeah.
So,
and there might be we'll be doing some videos and stuff as well, I think. Yeah. So that'll be good.
So as always, it's Reddish Lifestyle on Insta and TikTok.
Yeah.
So feel free to DM us questions, suggestions, recipes, restaurants, places to go.
And any stories you have of your, weirdest home cooks, and we just love to hear what you cook and what inspires you and stuff like that. Join the conversation, really.
Yeah.
So, Charlie, what are you cooking tonight?
Gosh, that's a good question. Well, the weather has just not been brilliant, has it? So,
No.
I'm sort of toying with either potentially doing some, I don't know, pork rack maybe, just because it's sort of a roast cold weather,
Yeah.
something like that. How about you?
Oh, yes. Well, I don't know. I've kind of had a bit of a fishy theme going on. So I was thinking I might do some salmon
Hmm.
and make a nice sort of olive tapenade sort of salsa to go on it. So just keep it quite
Yeah,
simple,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about doing that. And
Yeah.
I've got plenty of things sort of sprouting. I've got to harvest them in the garden. So
Oh, gosh.
I can go pick
More
some
marrows.
things. Yeah. More marrows.
Anyway, on that note.
On that note, we better get cooking.
Yeah. Keep relishing life.